Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer.
I'm Steve Wilkes.
This is an experimental beer. We love the experiments, and this one is handle it with care. This was inspired by an email from Chris. We don't know where Chris is from. Chris says, just curious if you plan on adapting your 15-minute boils to an all-grain recipe. You know, we usually do the 15-minute extract recipes. Obviously, you would need to mash for an appropriate time, but I know the Brewlosophy guys have looked at shorter mash times as well. Would love to see your 15-minute pale ale recipe converted to an all-grain style with maybe a 30-minute mash. I guess then it would be a 45-minute pale ale. Thoughts? Well, I did more than thoughts. I went ahead and did it.
Okay.
So, yeah, the Brewlosophy guys have been doing what they call short and shoddy brew days, you know, 30-minute mashes and 30-minute boils. We did a show, I looked in the archives, and we did a show where we did an American Pale Ale and a British Pale Ale that was boiled for 30 minutes. And it turned out just fine. Now this one, I went ahead, this is a 2-gallon batch, and I went ahead and did a full 1-hour mash because I didn't want to change that variable. I just wanted to change the boil time variable. So here's how that went. So again, this is a 2-gallon batch. I used 4 pounds or 1.8 kilograms of 2-row. I mashed at 150 degrees for 60 minutes. Then I started my 15-minute boil. I added 1 ounce or 28 grams of Cascade for 15 minutes. That's the whole boil time. And then I chilled down to 180 degrees Fahrenheit to do a hop stand. And then I added 2 ounces or 56 grams of Cascade again. And then held that in the oven at 180 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. So, and then I fermented with Safale USO5, starting gravity 1055, final gravity 1010, ABV of 6% alcohol. So this is a 15-minute, all-grain, hop stand, smash, pale ale.
Put that on the business card.
Yeah, that's right. I need to see the other side.
All right.
So here we go. This is the first time the bottle opener has, there we go. Steve's had a rough day already. It's been a day. He needs a beer. So this is fairly well carbonated. I carbonated with one of those carbonation drops. It has cleared up a lot. When it began, cheers. Cheers. When it began, it was very hazy. And I wanted to call it a New England IPA because it was so hazy. So I'm interested to see. This is just 2-row and Cascade hops. So I'm interested to see what your reaction is.
Lemony with the nose. Oh, it's nice.
Isn't that tasty?
Very nice.
Now this has been in the bottle for about a month, a little over a month. When I first bottled this, like a week after, it was like boom, grapefruit juice, and the hops have settled down a bit since then.
Again, I'm really struck by the nice grainy note in the beer. It's I get more lemon than grapefruit, and I know it's Cascade, but it just tastes lemony to me.
Yeah.
It's wonderful head retention. That's quite amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty beer. It is still a little hazy. It's not really a Gabby hazy.
It does have a limp.
It does have a limp.
It'll make you limp.
It's very nice. And I mean this as a compliment. So it reminds me in a very good way of Miller High Life. I know. But Miller has, of all the macro beers, and I say this because everybody's had a Miller. Miller has a kind of soft graininess that's actually really nice. This is like that in a way. It reminds me of that. But the hop flavor is much better. And the freshness of the beer is much better. So I'm not suggesting this is a Miller High Life. But the thing that I actually like about Miller High Life is this kind of graininess that they've kept in the beer. And this reminds me of that.
It does have a softness. The mouthfeel has a sort of softness. It's not as soft as when it was fresh, but I'm wondering if it's because if you're only boiling for 15 minutes, you don't get a strong enough protein break. So there may be a lot of protein still floating around in there, so that might soften it up a little bit. And I just wonder if it fits in the New England or IPA category. In fact,
I know where you're going.
I'm going to drop a name here. I've been talking to John Palmer, author of How to Brew, which if you don't own that, you need to.
Yeah.
And he and I are arranging at this date and time to get together for Basic Brewing Radio to talk about New England IPAs because he's writing an article about them.
Great.
So I took the ballsy move of sending John Palmer, author of How to Brew, a couple of these beers. So you'll have to tune into the radio show to see what John thinks of those beers.
Yeah.
It's the same. Those beers. It's the same beer. But.
Yeah, but actually, where I thought you were going, so I was wrong. I thought you were going to say that the technique, the 15-minute technique, might really lend itself to that style of beer. Therefore, do a by purpose, an on purpose New England IPA, but do the 15-minute boil.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's not milky, like there are a lot of, I've seen pictures of some of these beers where they look like milkshakes or something like that. I don't know if I'm sure they're delicious, but there's been a lot of, blowback from that. People are, Chris Colby of beerandwinejournal.com is one who does not like that move. He's kind of old fashioned in that way, ironically, but so it's hazy.
Yeah,
and it's not milky. But this is a beer that I would scale up and do like a 5-gallon batch, maybe a 10-gallon batch, and just boil for 15 minutes. Do a little hop stand at the end, and then call it good.
The older I get, the more I'm around beer. The simple beers are almost always better. I mean, that's a big statement, but it just, maybe my palate's just changing. I love these beers that are just kind of, there's just one or two things in them. They don't have 48 kinds of grain and 64 kinds of hops. And I know I sell all that stuff, so I should encourage that.
Exactly.
Kind of and I'm not saying that there aren't really wonderful beers made like that. That's not really my point. But I really like just the clean, that the grain and the hop, and they're just right there. This is good beer.
It's a very short soapbox. It's a short soapbox that you stood up on there. You didn't get much taller. So I think I would brew this again. I would scale it up. I think the 15-minute boil technique in this instance, boiling an all-grain beer for 15 minutes, there's no diacetyl off flavors. There's nothing that you would expect to be bad from it. And the hop character is not so strong that I don't think it's masking anything.
It's not masking anything. There's plenty of hops in it. It's a very satisfying beer. As someone who's drank a lot of beer in his life, it's and yet I would serve this to all my brothers who drink Busch Light, and they would gladly drink this beer. And that's why I think it's so great about it. I mean, it's not an entry-level beer, but it's an accessible beer.
Yeah, very good.
There you go.
There you go. Thanks, Chris. Mystery Chris for the email.
Yeah.
And let us know if you've done something similar. And we're recording. This is our first recording day of 2018. So happy 2018. And we'll see you on down the road. Cheers. Come and visit us online. At basicbrewing.com, you can find archive lists of our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs and our Brewer's Logbook, where you can track and log up to 50 batches of beer. If you're in Fayetteville, Arkansas, stop by Steve's Brew Shop or find him online at stevesbrewshop.com. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Mm-hmm.